Well, hello again, and welcome to another edition of LNTV. We're hearing a lot about prospective red flag laws these days in the wake of a series of mass shootings that have the American people on edge. What history tells us is that the name of these laws, meant to flag mentally unstable people and prevent them from purchasing guns or even possessing them, is not exactly new. Joining us to explain is LibertyNation.com managing editor Mark Angelides. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate it as always. So, Mark, your UK Parliament this week broke into song with a socialist anthem with a curious title. Explain.
Well, yesterday evening, the UK Parliament began its prorogue session, which you and I have talked about before, which means that Parliament is shut down for now and will open again soon enough. But at the ending here of the Parliament, the left-hand side of the House, which is the Labour Party, the English equivalent of the Democratic Party, burst into song. That song being the Red Flag, which is a socialist anthem, well, socialist and communist anthem around the world, which gives you some indication of where the British Labour Party stands.
Well, now, I was going to ask you this last, but given your answer there, I want to ask this now. The fourth verse of this red flag anthem talks of, quote, triumphs past, unquote. Now, is this now left out, as it often is, because these past triumphs have descended into bloodshed and persecution?
That is exactly the reason why it is now left out, Tim, yes. It started a while back where people stopped including it, specifically because the triumphs past, when people start asking questions about it, they mentioned gulags, Mao Zedong's Great Revolution that left tens of millions starving and dead, obviously Stalin's Russia. These things are not things which the modern socialist movement is very proud of, quite understandably. So they've left this part out. Which to me it seems somewhat Orwellian, almost as if they're trying to rewrite the history books and shoving that particular verse down the memory hole, never to be returned.
Do you think, now that we're almost 30 years past the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of Soviet communism and the disastrous socialist experiment that enslaved so many people for 70 years, do you think the passage of time now is leading the socialists to say maybe the young people, anybody under 40, isn't going to remember the downside of socialism? So we'll just tell them about all the same ideas we had before that didn't work, but maybe they'll work this time and they'll certainly be attractive.
It is a unique rebranding issue, I would agree. However, it really is just in the Western countries where, the Anglosphere countries, where this is getting a rebranding. For example, this particular anthem, the Red Flag, it's not only it's not only the particular song favorite of the British Labour Party, but it's also sung around the world in many places. Would you like to hear a couple of examples of where it's sung?
Sure.
The North Korean Army has it as their particular anthem, obviously in translation. The Japanese Communist Party, which I might add is a very nationalist party. I'm sure the socialists wouldn't like to get too involved in that. Oh yes.
How can a communist party, communism is a worldwide movement, how can it be also Japanese nationalist at the same time? I guess I really don't understand that.
The imperfections and cognitive dissonance of the left, Tim. Everything's possible if you just put your mind to it or take your mind away from it.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm wondering if with this socialism that we're increasingly seeing, that there's a belief on the left, not just that this is the right thing, but that there's a real market for this around the world, a market big enough that they can win national elections, including in the United States. Do you think they believe they're much more powerful than they really are?
I would be loath to say that they're not as powerful as they are, because that they do have a huge amount of, I think the best way to term it is cultural support. So you have all of the major, let's call them media stars, if you know what I mean. The celebrities, musicians, the popular down with the kids politicians. That they're all pushing this idea of socialism as this wonderful antidote to the problems of life. And the kids, well, I say the kids, but the younger generations, perhaps they don't realize that the problems with their life are in the process of being solved through free market economies. That they're getting wealthier, they're getting healthier, and this has kind of been plastered over by the socialists. So it's not so much that they don't have anything to offer, it's that what they have to offer is a lie, and it's one that's being swallowed hook, line, and sinker, unfortunately. So I think their power base is expanding and will continue to do so.
Well, the good thing is that we're going to have a very, very stark choice in the American presidential election next year between a quintessential capitalist, Donald Trump, and likely a quintessential socialist, unless it's Joe Biden, if he can make it that far. So we'll see how the American people weigh in, likewise around the world. Last question for you, Mark, is, are you suggesting that the term red flag laws now being used by the American left has its genesis in the red flag socialist anthem?
Well, you know me, Tim. I've never met a good conspiracy that I didn't want to meet.
Indeed.
Well, I mean, if you look at the history of the red flag in itself, I mean, this you've actually caught me off guard here with this one. But the actual first use of the red flag was around the 15th century, and it had its origins in, for example, revolution and on the barricades, things like this. And it's sort of carried along. It is very much a left-leaning symbol. I mean, it's been adopted by all of the countries who were influenced by Soviet Russia, and those that broke away from the Soviet model to go towards the Chairman Mao model. It's definitely there. It has definitely taken root as a connotation, in my opinion.
Well, Mark, I think since it has now been revived as a tradition, the red flag anthem, we ought to publish the lyrics on libertynation.com for all of our socialist readers. Oh, wait, I forgot, we don't really have any socialist readers. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
My pleasure.
Well, we hope you liked this and maybe even learned a thing or two. If you did, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel on which you watch this, or Vimeo, right down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. So, till next time, I'm Tim Donner for Mark Angelides. Thanks for joining us.